Elizabeth Ward. I am one of the members of the Office of Admission at Providence College, also a very proud alumna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Burdick. I am also a member of the Providence College Office of Admission and an alumna. And we are so excited to have you join us all tonight to really learn more about the Catholic side of Providence College. You may already be super familiar with Providence, and that's wonderful, or maybe this is the first webinar you're tuning into, but we really look forward to kind of unpacking that topic. We are on a Zoom platform, so if you need to use the Q&A form, that's available down at the bottom. We'll have time for questions at the end, but if you think of something and you don't want to lose your thought, feel free to send that in there too. Happy to get to that. But I think we can get started.
Wonderful. So as Katie said, our goal tonight is to run through what it means to attend a Catholic college, specifically Providence College, and whether that is coming from a familiar background or a less familiar background. Want to give you insight into how that enhances a Providence College experience to whatever extent you are looking for. So to get started, I want to talk a little bit about who we are as an institution. Katie, take it away.
Yeah, of course. So it is hard for me to talk about Providence in like 2 minutes. I think for both Elizabeth and I, like we could go on and on about all of the great pieces that make Providence who we are. But just some fast facts we think that it's important to know. We are a smaller to medium-sized school, Catholic, liberal arts institution that really focuses on educating the whole person and kind of taking those 4 years to really dive into those studies. As I mentioned, we are that smaller size school, right around 4,200 undergraduate students. You'll see that we'll have a couple of limited graduate programs, but really the focus is on that undergraduate experience. And in the classroom, your average class size will be just about 19 to 20 students. So you'll really kind of have that opportunity to build those deeper connections, get to know your classmates, get to know your faculty members. You'll also see that we're a pretty residential campus. This is kind of that overview of what our campus looks like. So everything's very walkable to get to, just about 15 minutes end to end, walking from your dorm to academic buildings to our student center. So that size is really important to that Providence experience. We are a Catholic institution, which of course is a big topic for tonight, but we are Catholic and Dominican, and really a big piece of the foundation of Providence College going all the way back to our founding in 1917. I also mentioned we're a liberal arts institution, so we have 4 academic schools, but it really is one institution as a whole. Within it, you can double major, you can switch your major. There's really a lot of great academic programs to explore, and if you have more questions about those, we do have many more webinars coming up, just to plug for those later on. And we do also offer a core curriculum that's grounded in those liberal arts traditions. So alongside whatever you're choosing to study for your major, you'll also take some core curriculum classes. And Elizabeth will get more into one of those a little bit later on into our webinar tonight. Another big piece of who we are, as we are located in the city of Providence, Rhode Island. So you can see it a little bit in the distance. It is more of a residential-based campus with a neighborhood on either side. But kind of having that access to the city for our students to explore. We have Division I athletics, so maybe you're a fan of basketball or hockey programs. That's a big piece of being a Providence College student. And it really is an environment where we want our students to get involved. We want them to dive into their academics, study abroad, do internships, but also join clubs and organizations and kind of find that best fit community for them. So again, hard to overview in 2 minutes, but hopefully that gives you the foundation of who Providence is and kind of how that Catholic side of things plays into our identity.
Absolutely. Perfect, Catherine. Thanks. And if you are familiar with Providence from that athletic perspective specifically, then you have probably seen our mascot, who is very lovingly named Friar Dom, after St. Dominic, who founded the Dominican order. So as Katie said, we are that Catholic and Dominican institution. And some of you might be familiar with other specific orders of the Catholic faith. Some of the more common ones that come up in the education world Some of you may attend a Jesuit high school or Marianist high school, different orders like that. But we specifically are of the Dominican faith Dominican background within the Catholic faith tradition. The Dominicans themselves are over 800 years old, with the founder, St. Dominic de Guzman, starting the order itself. And that order is the Order of Preachers. So all of our friars have their name and OP afterwards, standing for that Order of Preachers piece of it. St. Dominic's feast day is August 8th, which we are coming off of a very big celebration on campus for his feast day, which is also why this webinar is held in August each year. And the Dominican Friars and Sisters that we have on campus really have remained at the center of our college's tradition and campus life. So Providence College itself was founded by the Dominican Order and is still run by the Dominicans. We are the only college in the entire country run by the Dominican Friars specifically. There are a few colleges by the Sisters, but we are the only ones by the Friars. And the Dominican Order really finds that balance of prayer, study, community, and ministry through, again, that concept of being the Order of Preachers. So it's that contemplative thinking that goes along with seeking of truth, which really is the basis of the Dominicans and how they seek out or how they live out the Catholic faith. But finding all of that coming together. We have about 35 to 40 friars on campus with us each year, and then a few sisters across the street at St. Pius, the grade school just across the street from school. And they are on campus in a number of different ways, and we'll kind of break down each of those pieces. But they work within our campus ministry center. They teach different courses across campus, across different disciplines. They are in different administrative roles. If you have met Father Iriarte in our admission office, you have met one of my favorite friars on campus. But we have a friar within our admissions office. We have a friar within our Office of Financial Aid as well. So you may interact with them through this admission process over the upcoming year. But on campus, you will definitely see their presence, again, in that teaching, preaching, and ministry kind of capacity. You may have come across one of our most famous Dominicans on campus, Father Simon, who is the chaplain of St. Dominic Chapel on campus. He has gone viral quite a few times throughout this past year. One of his more famous viral videos is the residential hall blessing that he does at the start of each academic year. So students are welcomed to sign up to have him come bless their dorm room. And off-campus housing for those seniors who live off campus. So it is a very fun way to kind of bring the faith into that Gen Z environment or Gen Alpha as we keep moving forward, and really keeping that 800 years of tradition, but in the year 2025. He has done ASMR videos. He has done those room blessings, but now that your phones are sitting near your computers and hearing about him, I hope you enjoy him taking over your algorithm tomorrow. Our Catholic identity on campus, again, really filters down into who Providence College is, where faith is the foundation of our campus community, but it is by no means a requirement. So there are ways that that Catholic and Dominican tradition will filter throughout a student's academic experience, but again, not that requirement piece of it from a practicing faith background side of things. The Dominicans really all live in community within our campus. So that community and belonging really comes through from that entire Providence College experience. We see that foundation from all of what we do, from the learning piece, again, from that academic side of things to the living within community. As Katie had said earlier, we are very much that residential campus. So that's living and learning being built in all of the residential halls as well. We are part of that larger campus community. I'm very happy to still be a part of kind of that Dominican identity, now not being a student on campus anymore. So that Dominican component of Providence College really does filter out throughout the entire staff, faculty, and the alumni network. So that piece really never goes away once you're part of that Dominican tradition on campus. And that Catholic background is the root of our mission statement and comes across in so many different ways. So, as we were talking about earlier, we are that liberal arts institution. The Dominicans themselves are focusing on a balance between faith and reason, and that kind of contemplative nature between those two things really gets highlighted in so many different ways. Katie, is there anything you want to add here?
I think that's kind of the foundation of it. I think when you hear Catholic school, as I'm sure many of you have started to build your college list and start going on those college tours, each of us will identify a different way and highlight different pieces of it. But I think the thing that really stands out about Providence is that it's seen in every part of campus life. It's not just that we have one chapel on campus. It's really spread throughout the people and the places and the things that you'll learn while you're there.
Absolutely. As you can see on the screen, again, that Dominican identity is that seeking of truth concept. So as you keep learning about Providence College through the admission process, we do focus on that concept of seeking truth, seeking questions and answers, and seeking your right fit in the college process. And that really stems from that Dominican identity of that contemplation piece. We want you to tackle the admission process from that entire holistic perspective, the same way that we're going to read applications, the same way that you're going to have that academic experience once a student on campus. So kind of looking at as that filtration of that seeking of truth piece, how does that Dominican approach specifically filter into that learning component? So as I've referenced, it is that contemplative nature. So thinking very critically and then having that discussion-based piece of what you are thinking critically. And that is that foundation of a liberal arts core curriculum and who we are as an institution. So it starts from that Dominican tradition to filter into the academic side into that liberal arts perspective. As was referenced earlier, we do still have 4 schools. We have our School of Business, School of Nursing and Health Sciences, School of Education and Social Work, and School of Arts and Sciences. So no matter what you're truly studying, it is that contemplative nature across the entire board built within that liberal arts foundation. So that critical thinking is going to come through in a lot of ways, specifically from that classroom setting piece. Most classes on campus are very seminar based, where it is that roundtable discussion. We want you to think critically about all of what you're learning within a classroom setting, and then kind of have that debate dialogue piece that goes along with it. Saint Thomas Aquinas is one of the more famous Dominicans, and he found that faith and reason are not enemies but partners. And so again, that balance of faith and reason coming together to be partners and helping our students think about things from that well-rounded educational partnership. So again, while it's rooted in that Dominican tradition, it is helping you see not necessarily just from a faith perspective, but seeing everything from multiple different settings. That's more of where that Dominican approach to learning is coming in. That liberal arts foundation, if you joined pretty quickly and heard our banter in the beginning, we referenced our development of Western civilization course. This is the cornerstone of a Providence College education and is what truly embodies that well-rounded critical thinking component of a PC experience. Development of Western Civ is a 2-year, 4-semester course in very interdisciplinary in nature that our students are taking out throughout their first and second year on campus. So you're still taking all of your other major related courses. You might be in an intro to nursing class and development of Western Civ at the same time, and being able to see all of the connections that come throughout history. So that interdisciplinary piece coming together where you can't just learn about history without also tackling the philosophical, the theological, literary, and the fine arts that go along with what was happening at each time period. So it allows you to see things in such a greater context than just one specific moment in history. And again, that's where that emphasis on critical thinking and dialogue really come into play. We have this exploration of truth, again, that seeking of veritas, seeking of truth of that Dominican idea, where we want our students to become ethical learners and take things across so many different disciplines. Again, that interdisciplinary thinking is truly that Dominican nature. So there are so many different courses within the core curriculum. There is a ethics component that goes along with the kind of philosophy bucket of the core curriculum. And as a biology major, you would probably choose bioethics. As a marketing major, you will choose business ethics. There is a business ethics competition that goes along with our school business. So we really do want our students to have that ethical learning, and a lot of that is grounded in just that root of that Dominican approach to learning.
So I think the academic piece is, of course, a huge piece of that college experience. And I'm sure many of you have thought a lot about kind of how that will play into your college life. But at Providence, we think it's equally important to talk about what's important to you as a person too, and what you can do socially, and kind of getting to know the people around you and in your community in maybe a different way than you'll see them in the classroom. So this Catholic background is also seen throughout our campus life. We have so many different clubs and events and traditions that take place on our campus that are rooted in that Catholic background. As a whole, Providence College has over 125 clubs and organizations for you to join. So they really range from everything under the sun, from student congress to our board of programmers who plan all of our events on campus. But one of the largest is also our campus ministry organization, which has a couple of umbrellas within it. But their task is really to kind of see how faith and college life can interact, and really taking an individualized approach to that. It's not one size fits all for every single student of, I want to go to mass every Sunday and I want to do lots of service in my community, and that's what Catholic means to me. That may be one path for one student, while another student may like to have quiet reflection time in one of our other prayer spaces on campus, or like to get into kind of theological debates with some of our Dominicans and kind of test them on what they know. And so it really is meeting you as an individual and getting to know what is the best fit. What are you interested in? What did you do in high school that you really love that you're looking to continue in college, and finding those clubs and organizations that really fit that best interest. So our campus ministry office is right below our chapel. It's very easy to find, very centrally located, and lots of wonderful staff members that are housed right there, that are there for kind of students throughout their 4 years. That's also where our post-bash celebration happens. So one of the most popular traditions at Providence College is our 10 p.m. Mass on Sunday nights. Back in Liz's day, it was 10:30 p.m. We understand they need a little bit more sleep now. And so it happens every Sunday night. Students go in their pajamas, they're running from the library. They maybe have just gotten kind of done studying for the weekend, and it's just a place to reset. And I think it really is a nice piece to balance out the Providence College experience. And it always ends with a bunch of free food right in our campus ministry center. They have a different theme every week. And so some of my favorites from back in the day were the Super Bowl Sunday spread of all of your favorite Super Bowl foods. They do a pretty big dip night with like salsa and queso and sweet dips. So it really is just kind of bringing that personalized touch to your faith life on campus. And I think that openness to receive students exactly as they are is really what makes that campus life tradition so important to us. Another big piece of getting involved on campus is, of course, finding those things that best interest you. And for many of our students are retreats. So many of you may have gone on one already in high school. I think there's a lot of ways to kind of connect with your faith in that way, and those can definitely continue at Providence College. One of the most popular is our Connections Retreat that takes place the second week of freshman year. It happens kind of over that second weekend when you may be feeling that first experience of like, holy moly, I'm in college, how is this working? And students take a bus up to New Hampshire and they're out in the woods, and it's usually Olympics themed, but kind of having that balance of getting to know your classmates and having some fun, but also having time for reflection and small group conversations and hearing from upperclassmen about their transition to college. So that really is open to every single student. You don't have to be Catholic to attend any of those campus ministry-based retreats. It's a really great kind of introduction to how your faith and college life may intertwine. In all disclosure, I was a leader for Connections my sophomore year, so it's definitely one of my favorite, but it really is that great way to maybe approach faith from that more fun side of getting off campus and getting to know it that way. And then absolutely one of our favorite traditions on campus is our senior ring weekend. It really is kind of the beginning of the celebrations of a student's senior year at Providence College. Way back in the day, it used to be junior year, but then they all started going abroad. So we had to switch it up a little bit, but now it's mid-October and a whole weekend of kind of having that opportunity to start off your senior year and think about all of the great memories you've made so far at Providence and how to bring that all together within your senior year. So for those seniors on our chat tonight, you'll probably start thinking about homecoming for you and prom and all of those big events that happens once again at Providence College. And the weekend ends on Sunday with a mass where you receive your class ring, and it's kind of blessed by the entire Providence College community, bringing you all together as one class and kind of knowing that that community will always be there for you way beyond graduation day later that year. So it's a really special piece, and kind of seeing that the range of getting involved with that Catholic side of campus ranges to each individual student. Some want to dive right into it and explore things that they may be really familiar with already based on your past experiences, and others may just approach it as something new to try in college. And I think that range is really important, of being able to meet students exactly where they are and kind of find whatever is that best fit for you. You'll also see some of those more specific opportunities to get involved within kind of that Catholic side of campus. Peer ministry is a very large program for us. They like to say they're the largest program on campus. And that's a small group style of getting to know your peers, meeting bi-weekly, unpacking the different ideas of what's happening in college life and how faith may best support you through these very, very fun, but also very tiring and sometimes stressful years. Music and liturgy is also a wonderful way to connect with your Catholic faith on campus. I mentioned that we do have a wonderful chapel on campus, and at Mass on Sundays, we have a number of different music groups, kind of ranging from traditional to contemporary, for students to get involved with if they really connect with their faith through music. And then formation, prayer, lots of different ways to kind of learn more about your prayer life and how to strengthen it. From very structured kind of sessions, they started doing dinners with different members of our community this year. So including our men's head basketball coach, Kim English, showed up for one of those and shared a little about how his prayer life has been developed at his time at Providence College so far. So as you can see, it really is that larger community all coming together and reflecting. And then, of course, getting out into the community through service, everything from local opportunities right in our backyard in the city of Providence, but also kind of having that opportunity to go on some more international experiences as well. Anything
Absolutely.
to add, Liz?
You hit so many different points that I am reflecting back on my own experiences. You are not the only Connections Retreat leader in this webinar tonight, so don't you worry. But it is so wonderful to know that that second weekend of your first year on campus is so transformative. From I am still friends with my yellow lions. I still have my giant Lego block that came along with it too. But then being able to be that leader side of it too. So that leadership role, but kind of that teaching down piece of not just that faith perspective, but knowing like, okay, second weekend, some of that homesickness can start to filter in. Am I doing this right? Am I not? How can I learn from the upperclassmen on campus? I think is so important. One of my, especially as I got older on campus, favorite kind of formation and prayer moments in a maybe untraditional way is Theology on Tap in McPhail's in our student center. Where you can enjoy milkshakes or sodas or whatever else you are interested in having, and students get to have that kind of faith formation talk amongst the entire campus student body. And those topics have ranged from looking at Star Wars and how that can be seen from a theological perspective to oftentimes the senior class will have one of the friars talk about how do I leave Providence College and go off into the real world experience, and so many different things in between. And I bring up that Star Wars side of it to remind everybody that our friars on campus really are still those people with a lot of those same interests that um, you may not expect a priest to necessarily still have in their life. But our friars really are those people. They are at basketball games and hockey games. They are eating in the dining hall, working out in Kincannon Fitness Center, still very much built into that community, and then find ways to have that faith formation built towards our students. I love that you brought up your favorite post-mass bash being around the Super Bowl. And since you have already called me old, I will happily lean into that. Several of my college years were around the Patriots Super Bowl time, and their dynasty really being underway. And it was always be very funny the week leading into the Super Bowl, the friars on campus reminding us of all mass option times on Sunday, and that you may be celebrating a Patriots win during the, at the time, 10:30 p.m. mass, to know that you could have come earlier, and meeting the students where they are and knowing that that Super Bowl piece might come first at times, but then meeting the students where they are in every single way. So you've touched upon it in such a perfect capacity.
I feel like there's so many stories that we could share. And I do have to throw in that one of our colleagues lost an intramural t-shirt to a group of Dominican Friars. So they truly are getting involved in the campus community. And I think all of this kind of is leading towards this idea of, we know that college is a time for growth. And so we want to be a place where you can grow and feel comfortable getting uncomfortable and pushing yourself and learning more about yourself. Of course, academics is a huge piece of that, and we'll always go back to kind of helping you find your next steps along the way, connecting with alumni, thinking about graduate schools or going out into the workforce, but also growing in your faith, in your service, in your place in a community. We want our students to go out into the world and be part of their own communities too. They'll always have the opportunity to come home. Homecoming is always a popular time at Providence College. But we also want you to go be successful and flourish where you are with that foundation that you've had during your time at Providence. And so it really is a space where you're going to be pushed to deeply reflect. You're going to be pushed to learn more about yourself, ask those tough questions, both in the academic settings, but also in other settings too. Whether you're just having lunch with friends and you get into a deep philosophical debate over something that comes up on TikTok, or you're unpacking kind of what's happening in the rest of the world. Just having that environment where you truly want to see the best in one another, and all of that is grounded in how the Dominicans treat our students, and then our students treat our other students that way. It is such a community of, it's okay if you don't have it all figured out right now. That's what college is for, and we will always be there to catch you and support you along the way. There are a number of spaces where I think that reflection happens. We do offer daily mass every single day if that is the right fit for you. If that's something you need in your college experience, it's a really kind of great place to kind of reset for your day. I think every student will kind of end up at the place that's right for them. And some of our students need that like daily deep breath in the busyness of college life. But others may find some of our other greener spaces on campus as a time for reflection. Maybe it's a room full of people around you because you're an extrovert, and that's where you best reflect and bouncing ideas off one another. I think having that shared mission statement really at the foundation of all that Providence College does, and having so many great examples with our faculty and staff and Dominicans kind of setting the groundwork so that you can go out and do that on your own and kind of learn how you best grow and what you need to grow, and kind of how best to set yourself up for that growth so that you feel supported along the way. And that, I think, is kind of the bigger mission of why we are a Catholic institution. Those little pieces are super important, but also thinking about what is that common goal we're all sharing and what are we hoping to seek by the end of that.
That's exactly it. It's that seeking piece of it, right? It's you're seeking that growth. We don't expect you to come into college already grown. So we want to help our students seek through that purpose.
So the last piece we'll touch on, I think was a big question for my own college experience. So I grew up going to public school my whole life. I do not identify as Catholic, and I still chose to come to Providence College and now work there every day. And I've loved so many pieces of my experience. But my story is just one of many of each student kind of coming to Providence College exactly as they are. Roughly 65% of our students share with us that they identify as Catholic on the Common App, but I think you all know there is quite a range to that. There are those that really connect with that piece of their identity and maybe really want that in their institution that they're looking for, and others that it may be something that they're still learning to unpack and find the best fit for who they are. And so we really encourage students to come to Providence with that open mind. We know that you'll be asked those tough questions. There's so many different pieces being thrown at you. What am I majoring in? Where do I want to go abroad? What do I want to get involved with? But know that the whole environment around you is a place of support. And it really is all grounded in kind of focusing on your well-being as a student. And so there's a lot of opportunities if you're not Catholic to kind of dive into that at Providence. I attended one of our pre-orientation programs called FaithWorks. That's a great opportunity to kind of learn more about the service aspect of our identity as a Catholic institution and getting out into the community and learning how to connect with others. We do also offer kind of confirmation classes if that's something that you're thinking about during your time at Providence. You really feel moved to kind of get baptized or confirmed or your first communion. It's a great place to kind of explore that and have those conversations. And then for other students, they may identify with the Catholic side of our college just through the classroom, by the classes that they're taking and kind of being challenged to think deeply and getting to know our Dominicans in the classroom specifically. And so I think that each student that you talk to, each alumni you'll talk to has that different relationship with that Catholic side of Providence College, but I think that's what makes it such a special place. It really is that place where you're encouraged to dive deeper in who you are. You're not kind of being pushed one way or the other of you have to do this, you have to check off these boxes. It more so is that place to explore and kind of ask those deeper questions about yourself and bounce them off people that you really trust and go to care a lot for.
Absolutely, said so well. And you talked about how so many of these like big, heavy hitting questions get asked of students through the college process. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to meet? What do you want to major in? What do you want to do after college? All of those types of things. And I think one of the most important and somehow most forgotten questions is what type of environment do you want to learn in? And that is learned from the academic side to the social, personal side, and thinking about it from that type of context. And hopefully, you've gained an understanding of how that Dominican tradition helps us teach our students throughout their 4 years, and what type of learning environment, while it is that Catholic institution piece of it, it's more importantly the type of environment that you're going to come in to learn from. So as we start to wrap up, we do want to answer any questions that have been coming through tonight, and leave this space for you all. So I will stop sharing my screen so that we can see the chat and Q&A. And just talk about kind of those next steps. We recognize that it is August, and seniors in the room are facing these heavy hitting questions at this point, and know that this can be a slightly daunting process, and know that Katie and I are both here, as well as our 15 colleagues, to help support you through this and help you seek your right next fit, but want to tackle anything that is coming up from what it means to attend a Catholic school. Does that need to mean anything to you? Katie, who is your personal favorite friar on campus? Not that we have favorites, but we all do.
If I had to choose, Father Jordan Zajac is now one of our professors within our English department, but when I was at Providence, he arrived as a brother. And so it was during 2020 when he was ordained, and we all got to watch that on the live stream, which I think was one of the most special pieces of my Providence experience. And now still seeing him across campus, he always wants to get lunch with me. And I think kind of having just his like very fun, he was a Providence alum too, so he gets kind of that piece of the experience. But he's just such a fun presence on campus.
I agree. I have a very similar type of response of someone who is not in his role now for what he was when I was a student. But Father Justin Brophy was the assistant chaplain when I was a student at Providence, and went away, got his PhD, and is now back teaching in the political science department. And again, one of those departments you may not readily expect a friar to be teaching in. And he is a really fun presence on campus. We are still in the same fantasy football league that we had been in when I was a student. It is 10 years strong at this point. Again, that they're going to compete on the intramural field. They're going to compete in fantasy football, and they're also going to have some of the deepest conversations you've ever had in your life. So I love that balance of everything coming together there. Okay. That seems to have been one of the bigger questions. But we want to leave you just with two personal pieces of advice and ways that you can stay connected with our office moving forward, ways that you can experience that Dominican identity on our campus too. So we have several things coming up throughout the fall semester. We are starting to wind down for the summer at this point. Although let's tackle this question before we get into that advice piece of it. Okay. Yeah, so there's a really great question asking about the Catholic alumni connections, and I think that's a really awesome one to come through. There are several different major-ish related faith groups on campus. What is the new nursing one called, Katie?
Faith and Nursing.
Faith and Nursing, founded by two of our newest nursing students on campus. So they are finding ways to bring the field of nursing and connecting it with that faith background. We do have a chapel within our brand new Mondor Center for Nursing and Health Sciences. So that's a really fun thing there. There is a Catholics in Marketing group to help some of our business students stay connected that way. The alumni network is not quiet. So I think that piece is always going to be a big connection there. Correct me if I'm wrong, there is a church in Boston that many PC alums stay connected with. So it's kind of an unofficial home away from St. Dominic Chapel. But Katie, how would you kind of respond to some of those?
Especially during your senior year, there's a lot of talk about that transition from kind of graduating from college into the real world, as we like to call it. And so our campus ministry center actually runs a Faith After Friartown series of dinners. First of all, the food is amazing. Their catering is wonderful. So that is a great piece of it. But they invite a number of alumni to come back and kind of share how they're still integrating that Catholic background into kind of the lives that they're living now. And so for some, it's helping them find whatever parish they're going to go to after graduation when they're moving to a new city, and helping them find what will be that best fit of maybe that younger congregation, of having people of a similar age. But for others, it's kind of exiting that community of Providence College, and how do I transition of getting to know people that I work with and building relationships in that sense. So they do so much great work to kind of prepare students for those harder questions that they may face, with that grounding in faith. And then I think every year homecoming does such a great job of having a number of events. There's always a homecoming mass that's standing room only. And so kind of having that place to return to. And then our reunion is also really big at Providence. So those happen pretty much for the 5-year, 10-year, 15, pretty standard that way. We are able to go to a number of different kind of connections that you're looking for. And that also includes a big reunion mass.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's special that we both have had that opportunity to stay connected with the Dominican faith side from a staff perspective too. So while we are both alums, we do have that staff connection, and there are staff and faculty retreats throughout the year, which again, just shows that greater community piece of it that I think is so incredibly helpful. Great question. Are there any theology classes? There are 2 that come along with our core curriculum. So all students will take 2 theology courses at some point throughout their 4 years. I do always make it a point that theology is the study of religion. So while the majority of them are Catholicism focused, they are not all. I admittedly would happily tell you about the two theology classes I took during my 4 years, but they were both taken when I was studying abroad in Rome. So less traditional options. But Katie, do you want to share about your
Yeah, of
experience?
course. So I actually got to Providence totally undeclared. I had no idea what I wanted to study, and by the time I graduated, I had two majors and a minor in theology. And so I fell in love with my theology courses that I just happened to take because it was on my checklist of core requirements. So my first class that I took was biblical theology. I thought it was just a really important foundation of better understanding my faith. So I loved that class. It was taught by one of our Dominicans. And so he did such a great job of meeting students exactly where they are, whether they've read this every week growing up or this was a completely new kind of thing for them. And so that was a really helpful foundation. And then I took world religions during my sophomore year with Dr. Sandra Keating, who kind of has taken the time to explain how our Catholic tradition intersects with all of these other world religions. So that was much more of a global perspective of looking at kind of our place as a Catholic background and how it interacts with Jewish backgrounds and Hindu and kind of all of the different world religions that we'll unpack. So very different classes, but kind of showing the wide breadth that our theology department likes to offer.
Dr. Keating is an incredible human too. She sits on the Vatican Council for Catholic and Muslim relations. So she brings in such a wealth of knowledge from, again, other perspectives than just that Catholic and Dominican component there. I've got a quick question about the process of getting confirmed. So usually in about January or so, an email goes out to all of our student body asking if students are interested in participating in the RCIA program. And last year we had, oh gosh, dozens of students,
Yeah.
like close to 30
Yeah.
students be either fully initiated into the Catholic faith or some component of the RCIA program, whether it was just that confirmation piece or all three sacraments. So very healthy number of students, but you will be contacted by campus ministry or all of campus gets that email to invite you into that space if you are interested in pursuing it. Um, we do have some more admission related type questions that we'll tackle in just a moment. But a student is asking about staying a Eucharistic minister, having become one in high school, or reading at Mass, and all of the opportunities that go along with that component there.
And that is definitely an option at Providence. They would love to have
Yes.
more readers at Mass. They have the like favorites that I think love to do it at 10 p.m. every week, but we have a number of different masses that are offered. And so it's definitely something you can get involved with right within our campus ministry center. They always end Mass with a whole bunch of announcements, and that's usually one of them if you want to get involved that way. Just kind of talking to one of our campus ministry staff that are always around after Mass. And it really is, especially if you already have kind of understanding of how things run, kind of integrating that into whatever is best for your schedule.
Absolutely. Um, we can follow up with so much more information about this next question, but just tackling it very quickly, asking if the school organizes any pilgrimages or service trips. The short answer is yes. The longer answer, again, will come when we email out the recording of this webinar. But we do every summer have our Father Smith Fellowship program, and that connects with a group of students with a Dominican community across the world. So we have two of our current students who just wrapped up their time in the Solomon Islands, working with a orphanage in that area and school community in that area, doing service. So much longer answer to come, but the shortest answer is yes, absolutely. Very similar to being a Eucharistic minister or reader at Mass. Yes, you can be an altar server during Mass as well, staying connected in that capacity. We're going to tackle just this one final admission question and let you all head off on the rest of your evening. But Katie provided our contact information in the Q&A area as well. So feel free to reach out to either one of us with more questions that come up or your personal admission counselor within our office. But Katie, do you mind just answering that final one of knowing that we are that test optional school, if a student does not submit test scores, how that impacts the admission process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you have additional questions about the application process, we have so many other great webinars that already live on YouTube if you do a quick search that way, but also upcoming this fall. So you can really dive deep into the weeds of those different pieces. But we are a test optional institution, have been for a very long time. And so it really is up to you as the individual student if you like to submit those test scores. This year we saw roughly 60% of our admitted students choose not to submit their test scores. So that just kind of gives you an overall trend of those that are submitting them are usually really excited about them. They're a great reflection of their academic work. And so if you would like to share them with us, you have that option, but we don't make any assumptions if you choose not to submit them. We know that there are a whole host of reasons why you may choose not to submit those SAT or ACT scores. So really up to your personal judgment of what's best for you as a student.
Absolutely. We do have one other question that I would happily go and answer, but I don't want to keep you all here for 45 more minutes. But we encourage you to reach out to our current students, and we are happy to connect you with them of why they chose Providence College. My quick response, PC hit the most number of boxes. It was always the school that I was looking back on and comparing other institutions to. I didn't realize that the divine providence component that we all like to joke about was in my family, having a Dominican connection within my own personal family, and then finding the Dominican connection at Providence. But there's a whole host of reasons, but I would rather connect you with our current students to get that updated story.
Yeah, I could never summarize that in the time that we have left. But my short story is that on my first college tour, it was the middle of February and snowing, and we were walking past the chapel, and there was a group of students playing wiffle ball. And that's the kind of community that I wanted to be a part of kind of having that balance of college life, of getting involved with your community, getting to know the people around you, making the most of a cold winter day, but also having those opportunities to dive deeper into all of your different interests.
Wonderful. As I was saying earlier, so many ways to stay connected with our office moving forward. We will have more webinars throughout the fall semester, but Katie and I are about to hit the road as every other counselor in the office is too. So we hope to meet you all in your hometown areas, either at your high school or local college fair, or by email. Or if you do come to campus, be sure to track us down. We have visits throughout the entire fall. Our fall open house will be in October. So many ways to stay connected with Providence throughout the future. We are happy to connect you with our favorite friars. But if you do come to campus, you will see them. And then if you have further questions, do not hesitate to reach out at any point. But we wish you all the best of luck with the college process. Any final words of wisdom, Ms. Burdick?
I always like to end with a great pitch for our Day in Friartown program. It's our Shadow Day program that we offer throughout the fall. They are not up on the website yet, so please don't email your counselors about it, asking where it is. It will be coming very shortly by the end of this month, and that's a great way to kind of get that inside look of what it's like to be a Providence College student. Ask them those tough questions of why they chose Providence, and kind of get to know the campus community on a very personalized level.
Wonderful. We wish you all the best of luck with your college search process. To any underclassmen, great job for starting early. And hopefully this helps you figure out what types of places you are seeking, what type of environment you want to learn in for the next 4 years. But we wish you all the best of luck. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks and go Friars.